Hey there, guys. Welcome to the first ever interview on my YouTube channel. And today we've got the art director for Relooted, Bongane Mahlangu. Dude, what's up?
Uh, what can I say, man? I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad that I'm finally here, and we are finally doing this. So yeah, man. It's. Thank you for having me.
I've been a fan of your work for the longest time, even before we knew each other, even before like Triggerfish. There was a point where you had like I think it was Project Apollo, and that was before
Oh God.
2019. That was before 2019, before a SEAL team, and I used to see Project Apollo when I was still at like home, hustling from home. So I was like,
Yeah.
I became like you came on my radar then. I mean, without going on too long, like we can just dive into it, get started. So I'd like to introduce this thing on the channel where people tell me their lore and
Yeah.
have it feel like a conversation rather than an interview because every developer has a thing that makes them them and that also has them go into game development. So, what's your lore?
Oh man, I was created with the One Ring of Sauron. Kidding. Wish I was. No man, I grew up in Makaya, which I would say, it's weird to say Makaya. Maybe some audiences might not even understand what is that, but I would say like the more countryside, the more rural side of South Africa, in a small little village called Chris Hani, which is in Pumalanga. I grew up there. I think I'm a second son. I'm like, I guess you might say, I guess a middle child. Yeah, so I spent most of my childhood and probably a bit of my teen years there. And then eventually I moved out and then I went to the big city and then now I'm here. But in terms of like, if you want to get specific with like I guess video games, I got introduced to the medium uh like from my cousins. Like my cousins had, the your 8-bit machines. They were playing Contra, they were playing your Pac-Man. I remember I didn't have a good time when they were playing Pac-Man. I had a good time when they were playing Contra. I was a backseat player, if you might say, these days, because I was too young to kind of like but I was always fascinated by video games. I really loved the medium. And then at some point, we had arcade machines. And arcade machines were kind of like an upgrade from the home systems for some reason. We had King of Fighters, we had Metal Slug. At some point, actually, we even had is it Moonwalkers by Michael Jack? Like, remember the Sega Michael Jackson game? Moonwalkers, we had that. Yeah, so yeah, like we had Metal Slug and all that. So like so after school every day, I would just be like out there playing, or I would be like I would call it like a third, like a backseat player sometimes if a friend of mine is playing. But we were always just around arcade machines, and of course at some point, um, yeah, you're always gonna be there. You gotta have your 50 cents, the coins, and then like at some point, like arcade machines, unfortunately, the ones that we had, the establishments started changing, and I think it's kind of a problem that we still have, in the township areas, or like the rural side, where people decided to start selling alcohol and the place did not become safe anymore. Started to kind of like, yeah. So then my parents were like, no, 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 this is not good. So my mom was worried. She was like, and I know that you love this, you love playing video games. At that time my cousin got a PlayStation, and then she was like, okay, cool, like I will get you this if it will get you off the streets. but no more leaving home and going out in the streets. Like, you gotta be safe here at home, I guess, like any other concerned mom. But I guess in a way, yeah, it really did open new worlds for me. I got a PlayStation 2 in the December of 2005. It was a weird time because like the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 were at that time around the corner. They were being advertised in every game magazine. I still remember that article where somebody said, like, as a headline, and somebody said, "I'm selling my car for the PlayStation 3," because the PlayStation 3 was like apparently gonna be very expensive. But I got into that, and the first games, I still remember the first games that I got on my PlayStation 2. I got home, the PlayStation 2, and I think a couple of weeks, I got myself Burnout 3 Takedown. So Burnout, so when I got Burnout 3 Takedown, I remember my cousin got himself Black. It was weird that, like, at the time it was weird because they were both Criterion games, and we bought those games not even knowing that this is like Criterion games, like, which says something. Criterion games, what's going on, guys? Yo, if you need to be free, please. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Like, yo, so my cousin gets Black, I get Burnout. He's like, go play Burnout for a week. I want to play Black for a week. He had a memory card. I didn't have a memory card. So, hey, you remember those times.
Every day we started new, Baba. Every day it's just like we put up the
Yeah,
PlayStation,
new
play through
game.
the first level again.
Yeah, when I look at New Game Plus, I'm like, amateurs. You, New Game Plus. We had this. We every time when you play the game, it was just new game every time. Uh, so, unless there was a cheat, though, there was a cheat. So, if you didn't know this, right? If you didn't want to start over, what you would do is you like on your PlayStation, you would go to your game's main menu, right? And then what you do is you can take out the disc, right, and leave the game running on your PlayStation 2. You can go to sleep because remember PlayStation 2 had a fan, so it didn't really overheat or anything. Unlike the old, 8-bit games that needed to have, they had an adapter that got hot every time and you have to stop. But like the PlayStation 2, it wasn't like that, right? So you can leave the disc on, or you could just like take the disc out and just like chill, and then tomorrow put the disc and then continue your game, because the game thinks that you paused the game. The system thought you paused the game. So that was like another weird cool thing. I'll just leave it at that. That was like one ways to get around not having a memory card. But like, so yeah, I got Burnout, and I think Burnout really like it shifted my perspective in a whole lot of things. Like, I got into punk rock because of that game. I got into a whole lot of cool stuff. So yeah, Criterion Games. I need to give them a prop. They kind of really like open a whole lot of things. So yeah, so I think then from there on, like, my cousin finished Black. He gave me Black. I gave him Burnout, and then we just did this whole exchange. And that was just kind of life. I was one of probably 4 or 5 people who were like hardcore, like players at that time. So the community was small. It was either it didn't exist or something, but like, yeah, it was small. So um yeah, it was a very different time. But like, yeah, after that, a couple of years later, I finished high school, and it was time for me to be like, hey, listen, I have to do something, right? And of course, there's a lot of things that like every, family is expecting. I mean, we're millennials, so they're like, you're gonna be a doctor, you gotta be an engineer, What's going on? Yeah, hey, I heard your cousin is an engineer, yeah, you're gonna take that. So yeah, and then I was like, nah, I don't want none of that. Like, I wanna do this. And for me, it cause it felt like it, like, cause you think about it, right? Like, there was no mindset that said people have a job to make these things that are not job. Like, you know what I'm saying? They're not work. Like, for example, like people who, like, back at home, like, people did not think that there are people who make animation, like who make cartoons. Like, they thought cartoons are just something that comes with the TV network. But like, of course, like there are adults working on this. But that mindset, like people didn't have not even they couldn't comprehend that that's a job, that's somebody else's job, right? Like so like even same with video games, there wasn't that. So for me, I wanted to be in that space. I just finished like watching Finding Nemo. I saw the behind the scenes, and I was like, oh my gosh, man! Like this is the world that I want to be in. I want to make like really cool stuff. And I went like to the same. The university that my brother went in, they couldn't offer a course like that. I was like, okay. So it was hard to find a school that taught, like, you can say game development, or and it's not like they didn't exist, it's just that we didn't have the knowledge. The internet wasn't something that was like early accessible, like, so like it's either you gotta have to do a proper research, ask people, and so it was a bit of a struggle. But I got lucky. My brother heard of like he was literally listening to radio, and he heard about this school called Boston Media House in Santon, and he heard that they offer animation, and he gave me a call, and he was like, I think I might find what you're looking for. We checked out this school, and when we checked out this school confirmed that, okay, this is exactly what you want to do. Because when we went to the classrooms, man, there was artwork everywhere, man. It was just like for me to just see that, like never having been, never even doing, like, because I didn't do art in high school, because our high schools did not have art, and that's a whole nother different conversation. Not no art, no swimming, just limited sport, just like underfunded, It was a day where you can see a cow in a school. It was just funny. It's funny, but like, you think about it now, like, that's not right actually. But like, yeah. So no. So there wasn't any of that. But like, by just like seeing that, like seeing students making artwork, seeing students, not submitting essays, but like submitting animation work, submitting storyboards, submitting artwork as projects. For me, I was like, oh my god, this is I'm in the right place right now. Yeah, I was like, this is it. Like I should be here. So that then became my next goal. And the following year, I registered, and I got into the school, and I did animation for 3 years with a bit of concept art, which was good, at least, so you had to do a bit of drawing, and then you have to do a bit of the animation in 3D work, and then after that I was like done, and I was supposed to now go off and be in the world. And then it was tough. And it's tough times, because now you gotta remember there's no industry, right? There's no industry, even if there is, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was small, so you had to know people. You had to kind of know somebody who knows somebody. So it was still a bit tough, but so I had to work in retail for a little bit. At the time, I think I was working at Musica, selling video games, because I love video games. So I was in a video games department. So I was like, it's a no brainer, sir. I mean, I would say like it should have broke my spirit now when I think about it, because I was like at the far end of the process. I want to be in the development process, but I was in the selling process. That's so far from that is so far, right? Like from it. But I think in a way, like, yeah, so I was, like, great games are launching, great games are coming out, and I am just selling the. But eventually, I eventually got to an animation studio, and then after that, I worked a bit in the studio. I started off actually as a mocap I'm a cleaning artist, cleaning the mocap data. If you guys don't know, in motion capture, you actually get like raw motion capture data that is dirty sometimes, and even those points sometimes, they're not tracked very well. So you go to the graph editor and you look at the graph editor. Of course, it has all of this animation and all this data, and then there'll be one or two that spikes. And your job is to fix those spikes, is to make sure that those spikes work. And sometimes those spikes might not be fixed, or so then you have to kind of delete that key and kind of manually place it. So it was tedious work. But hey, you had to. So then I worked in that job, and then eventually I got into at least to work with the animation team. That was good. Just still was working within like the bounds of motion capture. Just like doing facial animation, lip sync, fingers, and all those things. So I worked with them for like almost like close to 2 years. So I met a old friend, I guess if I might just call him. And then he was like at the studio. His name is Jasimantov. So he was just like there for, to help the studio with the facial solver, because there was a point where they wanted to do motion capture in the face. So you need a facial solver to solve all of those problems. So he was just there to kind of consult with the studio, if you might say. So we met. He saw my work, and then 2 years later, he was like, "Yo, I want to work on a series, and I'm with a friend here." And then I was like, "Okay, cool." I'm not gonna say what series was it. It was an animated series. But all I know is like I worked with Mohau, Terrence, and Panda. That was the time. That was the first time when I actually like we worked together. I already knew about their work, but like I mean, shout out to Terrence, Panda. Goat is goated. Now I've worked with the goats before, in a way. So we worked together. I was doing visual development there as an environment for just drawing the backgrounds and environments. Just a couple of projects there, and then eventually, I kind of the team kind of got disbanded because we couldn't secure funding for this one big project that we were working on, and we kind of then just had to we just kind of have to just I guess disperse. I was out in the ether, and that was the time when I actually worked on Project Apollo. And at that time I had to go back. I have to move back. I have to move back to my parents' house, and and it was not a good time. But I I don't know, like to cope, I picked up my brushes again and I started working extra hard. Like I really started to push myself and wanted to become better because there was nothing to do except be better and just be good at the work. I finally got a break into films. Then I worked in couple of live action films. And then when I literally just the day before leaving the set, because the set I think was in Stellenbosch, right? So we were just working from there, and then I was like, okay, cool, I'm done with the project. I'm gonna fly to Joburg on Monday. Adios. And then I got a call from Triggerfish, right? And I'm like, and literally they're calling me. They're like, dude, we don't know what's wrong with your email, but we've been sending you countless emails. Maybe it's probably on your spam. I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah. They're like, what the hell? You don't want to talk with us? No, but I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. It's probably all of this stuff went to spam folders. So people, please check your spam folders. It happens. Please,
Always check your spam folder.
you just always check your spam folder. There could be something there. So I then so then got a call. They were like, when are you leaving? I'm like, I'm leaving Monday, but I can still leave on Tuesday if you guys want to see me. They're like, good, yes, leave on Tuesday, come to Triggerfish on Monday. We got a project and we want to show you it, and we want to work with you on it. I said, cool. And then I packed my bags on Sunday, left Stellenbosch. I got a place close to Triggerfish, and the next day in the morning, I drove straight to Triggerfish. Got to Triggerfish, and then they were like, they showed me SEAL Team. They're like, oh, here's SEAL Team. Here's a test animation from the film, and it looked really good. And they were like, we just now need like a person to do matte paintings, right? Like to just do the background stuff. And we've seen your background work; it's really cool. So we want you to do this stuff. I was like, okay, cool. They're like, but like, it's a lead role though. I said, oh, they're like, yeah. They're like, the cool thing about it though, they were like, but you're good, you'll be fine. Like, it's gonna start with you because there's no one there either way. It's gonna start with you and then it's gonna eventually go down to, it's gonna start with you and then eventually you'll get more people to work with you. And I was like, okay, cool. So then they were like, when can you start? I was like, okay, maybe like give me 2 weeks, man. At the time, I just finished the film, and I was slightly burnt out. I'm not gonna lie. So I wanted at least 2 weeks to kind of prepare myself, and I'm also moving to Cape Town. I just needed just that time, find a place, settle. Also, just also be able to rest before getting on another project that was ongoing. They were like, 2 weeks, okay, fine. 2 weeks will be all right. I was like, oh, they got it worked out.
What was this
And
now, 2019 or 2020?
so I had a chat with them, I think in 20. No, this was 2020. This was 2020. Yeah. 2020, just right before the outbreak. It's right before Umbrella Corporations decided it's time. Got back, started working Triggerfish, and then T Virus got released, and then we had to work from home. And then, but it was great. I had a great time working at Triggerfish. I met a lot of cool people, made a lot of cool friends there. And SEAL Team in general was dope. It was really cool. You worked on it.
We had just missed each other. That's why I was asking, was it 2019 or 2020? Because we literally just missed each other.
Oh, you left, and I was just going in.
I left at the end of 2019 after the modeling phase. Yeah, I think it was at the end of 2019 after the characters. Then I
Yeah.
left. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Um. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because I would have definitely met you. There was a whole lot of social events that they were doing. They had the Friday lunch thing, which was really nice, where everybody just had lunch together. Yeah, and there's the live drawing. So, but like also when the pandemic hit, then I think it kind of really did affect how maybe probably could have socialized a bit more and all of that. But I'm still in contact with some of the people who work there. But yeah, yeah, and SEAL Team, I was scheduled to work on SEAL Team until around about October. Um, so what happened is I started freelancing for Nyamakop right towards the end of my contract, which made sense because at least you wanted to get, you know, something, um, so that I'm not stuck in terms of just like getting some money. So I was like, oh, let me just freelance a bit then. So towards the end of that, Nyamakop gave me a call and they were like, oh, the couple of stuff that you've done for us is pretty cool. Um, we were, we're still prototyping some stuff, but we think you could fit very well as like, like our art director for the game. And I was like, damn. Remember that? I was like, damn, no, what the hell?
You just jumped to the end of the book. It's like, oh well, I'm not gonna
Yeah, I was
say
like, wait,
no.
what? Yeah, of course, yeah. I wasn't gonna say no, but also I felt like, damn, like this has to be years, right? Like,
Yeah, that's
there's
what
no
I mean.
way.
And you
This
jump to the
has
end
to
of the
be.
book, Baba Wam is like, you know what? I'm
I
still gonna
jumped
go
into
with
it.
it.
Yeah, I think there was just something. Yeah, I mean, you doubt yourself, but then when you speak to people in your life, they're like, "Dog, you've been in the industry for a while now. Relax." I think it's bound to happen at some point. So get on with the program and just do what you gotta do. Because for me, I didn't apply for a an art director role, right? So that is another thing. I didn't apply for an art director role. In fact, I just freelanced and I was done, and then that's when it happened. But I guess sometimes when people look at your work, they're like, "He's a good fit." Even for Triggerfish as well, they're like, "Nah, he's a good fit. He'll be fine."
Yeah, it's funny because we follow a very almost very similar path.
Yeah.
From going from okay, this is how I get my first console, this is how I get into gaming. It's around about the same time we get the console. What I got, you said 2005, right? I get my console around 2005 as well. And then there are
Yeah.
games like Burnout 3, Burnout Revenge, and all of that. Need for Speed and whatnot. And then
Carbon was there. I know
Carbon was there.
Carbon was there. Carbon was there.
And then
I
all of
know
us,
Most Wanted is the most famous one, but Carbon
yeah.
was quite available everywhere for some reason.
Most Wanted was the one that dropped well in 2005. That not everyone loved Underground 2, but
Yeah.
Most Wanted was the one that changed everything.
Yeah, Most Wanted was, yeah. Like, yeah, it's almost a bit similar, but I think also and I think it speaks to also like a different group, and I think a different class as well, right? Like, because I mean, if you and I were like, I don't know, like if you and I grew up like, I don't know, in Santon or something like that, like it would have been a very different conversation. Like we would have gotten like good consoles even from a very young age. Yeah, yeah. You'd watch a movie, right, and then somebody would be like into video games and stuff like that, and they'll be like, "Oh, you're such a nerd," right? But like, I feel like it's even worse when you're in an environment where that whole thing. Oh, bro, it's even worse. Like, you're not a nerd to like everybody at school, but like you are a nerd. Like everybody, like everybody's like, "What the fuck, dog? Like, what? Why aren't you like everybody else?" So why can't you be normal? You know, they're like, "Bruh, come outside and play soccer." I'm like, dude, come on, man. I don't like. It'll be fun, but
I'm sorry.
yeah,
My mother bought me this console and I will enjoy it as such, please. Now
it's like,
go
yeah, it's
away.
like it's either it's like they'll be like, "Yo, you choose soccer or Tekken." Bro, Tekken, of course I'll be playing Tekken. And like, oh, come on. Yeah, like, of course, dude, I'm still in the middle. I know, like, dude, I'm in a boss level, man. You telling me, yo, man, like, let's go play. No, I'm playing, and I'm literally, how long I've been, like, you Devil May Cry, man. You there fighting Virgil, and somebody's like, yo, switch that stuff up. No, you're not stopping this. No. You're not. I just got my devil trigger, please. You gotta stop me from that and say, let's go play outside. Hold up, hold up. I will at my time, but for now, no. Just let me enjoy Devil May Cry in peace. Thank you.
So it sounds like you had a very interesting way of getting into the industry, you know, especially the local industry, since it's so small. Like, what
Yeah.
advice would you give for someone in the South African industry or trying to get into the industry in a South African context? What advice would you give them so they get into the industry? Because your path is very expansive, and it seems like you've worked in film, you've worked in animation, and you've worked in video
Yeah.
games.
Um. Well, I think on the local side, I think nowadays with the internet and everything that's available, I'll firstly start with that, right? Like I'm thinking if somebody is leaving college or they want to get into college, I think now there's a lot of school. Like Vets has a really good game design program there. Vega, there's a lot of schools now that have game design. Um, I think for that, I think a lot of people are all set. But if let's say you just finished college and you now want to get into video games and maybe you did game design or you did art, you did animation, whatever it is, and you're like, okay, cool, I need to get a job, or at least I need to start getting into these spaces. Firstly, just I would say, do you make sure that your work is good? In the context of game designer, have an itch page that has a bunch of games, right? They might not be like AAA games, or they might not be like the best games out there, but just have a itch page that has games that you made and games that you like. It also just gives an insight on the kind of person you are. For artists, your portfolio needs to be good, of course, and also portfolios I think now are also changing as well. Like portfolios in my time are now different. Like now, we don't even care that much about key art. Like we just care about the process. We need to see call outs. We need to see all of these sheets, all the information, a little bit of the law, what you're doing. If you're gonna design a sword, at least just highlight out materials, all of those things, just so that 3D artists have enough information to kind of model off of that. So now there is context. I think I even saw a post where they like if you're drawing an environment, for like let's say quote unquote a game, do the call outs, do the material thing, but also you can also when you're designing it show alternative paths through that space. You can even have section where there's like some grass for stealth opportunities, all of that stuff, right? It sounds crazy, but like, you need stuff like that in your portfolio as a concept artist, so that like studios can see that okay, this person is doing concept art and the concept art is good, but also they understand, yeah, and more than anything else, their work will help the 3D artist and environment artist do a better job and also just get enough information. So yeah, the stuff doesn't have to be the prettiest work ever, but it needs to have enough information, but also be designed well, right? Like the design is still there, but it doesn't have to be neatly rendered. It could just even be line work, some color there, and then as long as the design is good and there's enough information and call out, then I think your work will start to look unique and different.
And that's very important. Just to add like little 2 cents here, it shows that
Yeah.
you understand production needs. Like you are going to be a concept artist, sharp, show concept work. Nobody's saying
Yeah.
you can't do like a key art and whatnot, but show that you understand what concept work is and what concept stands for, and if it can,
Yes.
flow down the pipeline. Because even
Yeah.
in 3D, similar thing. Are
Yeah.
you showing your UVs? Are you showing your model? Are you showing your sculpt? Are you showing your textures? Do you understand what's
Topology as well.
yeah? Do you understand everything that is needed in the pipeline? You can have a
Yeah.
pretty sculpt, but it's not gonna do anyone any good, especially a recruiter if they can't see that you can work within the pipeline.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think like as me coming from the concept background and you on a 3D side, there is that conversation, right? Like you understand what you need, and I also know what what's needed. Looking at it as a art director in that perspective as well, I yeah, like I need to see work that I know would definitely looks like production work. It's not just um, artwork that you just make for yourself. I mean that is that is also cool as well, but I also just want to add in something because what I just told you right now is straight and forward. I would say the technical and the needs and the essential stuff about it, but I think also uh, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do artwork for the fun of it, because I think there is that thing where people can be very cynical, and I think maybe this is me being crazy. This is me adding my, I guess, my the me in it. Um, just like I know all of those things are really needed and they're important, but I feel like also as an artist, you need to enjoy doing your work. Like I think it's just it's it's useless to do all those things and you're not enjoying your work a little bit. It's like a treat for yourself, right? Like, so do those illustrations when you have the time to do those illustrations. Like, sometimes draw for the sake of drawing. You don't have to draw for the sake of creating an IP. You don't have to draw for the sake of trying to make a portfolio piece. Leave portfolio work to be portfolio work, and leave your artwork to be your artwork as well. Because I think also we have to kind of, as artists, sometimes push back a little bit in some regards on other things. Be like, I will do the work, but also I'm also a human being, and this is my weird, strange experiment work that I usually do on the side. Sometimes, not saying all the time, but sometimes, you know, some people are hired because of that. They're gonna see a series of these weird illustrations. They're not like, of course, informative like concept artwork, but because you draw these weird, cute creatures, let's just say, and they've got these weird, nice textures, and they look all adorable and stuff. And one art director one day is gonna put that into their Pinterest board, and he's gonna say, "Who did this artwork?" Because yeah. So sometimes I feel like also, just be an artist, so that some in some regards, one day somebody can hire you because they like the work that you do. Not necessarily that you can, like, technically, like, do all those other things, all those other cool things. Of course, like, be good at both of them, but do your thing. Like, who cares, right? Like, it has to be something. It has to have soul, right? Like, your stuff needs to have soul. Yeah, you need to kind of, yes, yeah. So have the needs part sorted out. This is what I need for my portfolio, and this is what I need for. This is what I want to do as, like, just your artwork, the stuff that speaks to you. I think we need to also just do that as well. Um, Someone's artwork that's weird and has a weird style can be an art direction of a whole game, and that game can sell millions. Like, it's just weird, but it happens. I just also want to just add the human element in it as well. Do all of those, but also, yeah, you human too. Do the stuff that speaks to you as well.
And just talking about the doing of everything and actually formulating a portfolio, you can add to this as well, ne? But before you decide, Uti, you want to be a generalist, have like a core skill that is reflected on your portfolio before you dive into other things, because your core skill is something that it's kind of like your brand. That's gonna what's gonna get you hired, because it's the one thing you're really strong at. And then if you become a generalist, you then get to explore with everything else, and then that becomes like an added into your main skill. So if I open your
Yeah.
portfolio and I look at your portfolio first, what is your portfolio telling me? It's like, oh, environment artist, character artist, character concept
Environment
artist, and all of
artist
that. Yeah,
first, but they
yeah,
can also do all the other stuff. Yeah,
yeah. So
I feel you.
maybe you can add onto that, like, if you see a portfolio, yes, everyone can draw and can concept, but like, what are you good at, or what are you strong at that I want to hire you for as an art director? Are you gonna look at that?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. No, I feel you. There is a bit of that as well, right? Like, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head there.
You do look at, like, oh, okay, I'm looking at a portfolio. This person is strong at characters, or this person is strong at like environments. Like, you look at Cloud, right? Well, Cloud is the perfect example of a phenomenal character concept artist, then you
It's gonna put their
understand.
Instagram here or
Yeah,
ArtStation.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm just gonna put his Instagram, his art station. I'm gonna plug him as well. Like he's a good example of like he's phenomenal at characters. Like if there's one thing you can take
yeah,
away, he's amazing at characters. But then
yeah,
again, with both seeing his other work, it's like, oh, you wouldn't think he is a character concept artist, but he
yeah.
just he
But
can just do it.
he just do it, yeah.
Yeah,
But he loves characters. Like his thing is characters, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think, yeah. I mean, some people are good at everything, but I don't think like you necessarily have to be like amazing at everything. At some point, of course, you're gonna be more good at other things than others. Like I would say, I'm a concept artist, but I'm like more or less a like an environment concept artist. But like yeah, so just mostly do environments, mood concepts, color scripts, some visual developments, all of those little things, right? Like those are the things that I'm usually good at. Like characters are not my strongest suit, and I know that. Even when I'm applying for a job, I'm like, no, not character, not character concept artist. Just like mostly environments or key art or mood or even like color scripts and all those things. So yeah, there's usually like yeah, like there's some stuff that I feel like eventually you're gonna be really good at when you do concept art. I'm guessing I'm just like mentioning it for the local. When you were mentioning that, any advice for any person who's local, it's okay to kind of have most of those things in there, because like yeah, with local studios, because mostly small teams, they we really want to work with people who can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, even though they might not be the best at it, but if they can at least are able to do something along those lines, that means there's more chances of you being hired, just because yeah, you don't just do one thing, but you can do just a couple, since
Okay, next I suppose is initially I had just noted it down as like work processes, but like
yep.
what do you need to create? What do you need to put work out there? You as Bongane Mahlangu, and not speaking to the wider audience. What do you need? What do you do? Do you wake up, go to a coffee shop, draw there? Like, what do you do?
um I guess for me, of course, like I always have my a bit of my inspiration, but like of course, I think every game is made with a huge pot of coffee somewhere in the studio. Like it has to be there. I'm even drinking like my last cup of the day. But like yeah, I will start with my coffee, and then I'll open a bit of ArtStation just as an inspiration. Like as ArtStation now is like a big inspo page in a way. Like it's just like you're gonna see stuff. I think back then we used to fear ArtStation. You're like, oh man, look at how terrible I am. Just going here, looking at all these artists, just makes me feel so small. I don't know. I'm at the point where I'm not scared of ArtStation anymore. I'm just inspired instead. I'm like, oh, okay. Now it's different. I think now as an art director, I kind of look at it in a very different way. But like yeah, I for me is yeah, ArtStation. I can't live with that short deck. I just can't live with that short deck. Sometimes I feel ashamed that I'm paying for for short deck, but it is awesome. It is a website for those who don't know. It's a website that has a bunch of film steals, or you could say like they'll take like screenshots or screen caps from a film, and then they'll just like have them in sequence, but not for the entire film. Maybe probably 80% or 60% of that film, but like just in stills. You can kind of watch a film in stills in that way. But I love it. It's just showcases, some really good cinematography. It even gives information on who's on the frame, what time of the day is, what kind of lenses did they use, you know, who is the cinematographer, who is the director of photography, and the director and the name of the film and what year, what shot, and all that. So it even has some cool information in there if you want to go deeper to it. But I love short deck. I can't live without short deck. And yeah, and then my tools that I always just have in my arsenal, it's your usual, your Photoshop, um, Blender, of course. Like we had to jump on that Blender train at some point. I am so sorry, Autodesk, if you're watching this, but your guys' stuff is really, really expensive. It is not indie friendly at all, and you guys just need to make a plan. I don't know. Um, even you know yourself.
Like I think it was the first release of Blender, was it 2.9 or no, Blender 2.7 or 2.8 in 2019,
Yeah,
where like it was a big change in Blender, and that's when people slowly started making the transition. And then when we both got
yeah.
into indie, we were like, ah, gone.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer thing. We were like, we're jumping on this. It's affordable. It's not even affordable. It's free, right? And I'm not saying that like this is not me because I think Maya is amazing. It's great. Maya is very well optimized for animation, very well optimized for modeling. Oh my gosh, UV unwrapping in Maya is just like a breeze.
It's just the
Oh,
accessibility part. Like it
it's
it it has
yeah,
become
it
too
hits different.
inaccessible.
It's just everything you can feel, like even when using it, that it's just tuned and it's been refined and it has gotten feedback from big animation studios and animators working on this for years, that it eventually got to display. Like Blender hasn't had that where you have like big studios giving them feedback and say, the navigation, this and this and that. So with Maya, like I said, I'm not speaking ill to it. It's just for me the accessibility of Maya at the moment is just I feel like, nah, guys, great software, it's amazing, but I just kind of feel like, especially for independent people, there is an indie license, but it's not accessible for the rest of the world.
I'd happily add it back in. Like, I haven't touched Maya since we worked on the first set of characters. That was like in what was it, 5 years ago or something?
Ah, yeah,
4 or 5 years
same
ago.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, it made sense. So yeah, I mean, so now Blender is like the thing that I know that, like, I can never really go without. Unreal, it's a big thing. But I think we'll probably speak to that when we're talking about, like, beyond Relooted. I guess in a way, because I got introduced to Unreal through Relooted, and then after that, I could say the rest is history. The rest is history. At least with Unreal, just like Blender, it's accessible. Like anybody can pretty much access it and use it. So we just love free stuff. We love free stuff here, guys. Yeah, so I think like, yeah, so those are usually like the tools that I would say I use on a daily, mostly. So yeah, I could say those are the things that those are my things. I mean, unless if I want to get really really specific, I guess some of them are just project dependent. But without those, yeah, I think nah. Yeah, yeah, I guess this also, I would count it as falling on the project dependent scenarios. But there was a time, I think around about 2016, 17, 18, somewhere there. 3D cut, like concept art got like a 3D boom at that point in time, right? So you had like people like Shadi, Safari, and the whole One Pixel Brush squad. They like they were doing videos about that. We had Jama, we had Mache at that time, also working on 3D and just like doing mixing the two and just it being concept art. I think it ended up just becoming the thing. And I think for me, of course, with the 3D part of it, just that for me, that just meant that like I didn't need to kind of sketch different camera angles. And I thought about it in that way, right? Like if I want to do like a key art frame or keyframe, I can have several different camera angles and then take the best one and then polish that one. and that was usually my workflow with a lot of clients as well, especially in films because they wanted things quickly, so I didn't want to just have to draw and sketch different camera angles, so for me I was just like, I'll just do a different bunch of them, give it to the client, and client will pick the best frame and say, okay, I want this frame, and then that was what went into the final frame. So yeah, so for me that was for speed, efficiency, but also it also helped with not having to worry about perspective because um, you know when you're just doing it by hand, you have to have perspective grids, and for some reason sometimes they can be a lot if you want to get everything in right. And that's the thing with like doing environment concept art, like you have to get your perspective right, and if one thing is off, it will kind of look off for some reason, and at that time you've already rendered everything. So to solve the perspective issue, just have a 3D base, have some basic lighting, then you kind of already know where to put the shadows, where to put everything in. It's sort of a bit of a cheat, but I think it was also in a response of, for me working in films, because in films they needed things to be done really quickly, so you didn't really have time to conceptually design, but you were supposed to sort of make key frames that inspired set designers and the directors and everybody else in VFX as well, to kind of be like, okay, this is the big grand shot. Then VFX kind of then breaks it down, and then they do their thing.
Like, and just talking about film and concept art, I see that you do storyboard, and then you've also mentioned to me a couple of times your interest in like cinematics and how you love film, and you try and bridge film and video games. How do you now get into the interest of cinematics? Like, what's the story behind that?
I mean, if I want to add into that side of me, I mean, I've always been a big fan of film. I got into film at a very young age. Um, I could say it is very common for a South African who is a millennial who used to watch films, but also it depends on what kind of films you watched. For some reason, that kind of could shape up. Um, you know, I grew up. Let me just say that I had my period where we all watched kung fu films, like every household. Like don't tell me that you did not. Every household watched kung fu films. Like I don't know, Africa. Yeah, like like Jackie Chan. Every house had Jackie Chan, man. Like if you said Jackie Chan, like every kid knew who Jackie Chan was, right? Like you see, Snake in the Eagle Shadow, Drunken Master. Yeah, so like we went through that. Like we were really getting a whole lot of Chinese films, right? Like that was the thing. Chinese kung fu films, specifically kung fu films, right? So Chinese cinema is something that has always been with our childhood. That was for me my introduction to watching films. But then I had an uncle. I mean, I have an uncle. How I'm saying, like he's alive. I have an uncle, and when like my uncle really, I would say he messed me up because he really did introduce me to sci-fi. Like he was the guy who really introduced me to sci-fi, and that blew my mind. I was a kid. I was like, oh my god, like I'm never gonna watch kung fu films again. Like you messed me up now, and he came home and like um he introduced me to Terminator. um I loved it so much that I know one of my aunties used to call me Terminator. That's how much I loved it. Like she thought, because whenever kids they're like, "I'm Jackie Chan," I'm like, "I am the Terminator," and that's my role, right? So my family knows this name, right? Their family knows this name. Like it's just a whole thing. Thank you, James Cameron. You messed me up, but like yeah. So like like I got into sci-fi, and then it was the Terminator, and then I had nightmares. I had nightmares, but I didn't care. I was too young to watch those films, but I did not care. I still watched them. And then he came again. He brought Predator, Alien. I was like, man, okay, this was the stuff, man. This was the real deal. So, like yeah. So after that, then like I really did become like a big fan of just like cinema in general, and just watching films. I think when I got around in high school, I had a friend. I had other late friend. Um, at that time, we used to go to the same like I would say, how could I call it, like your extra classes on Saturdays. You just go to like a school that offered that. So we used to go to the same one, and it was in town. So so after that we used to just go buy DVDs, right? Like with the money that you save, you can just go buy like a DVD. I had a PlayStation that played DVDs. That meant I had a DVD player in my bedroom, meaning I can watch DVDs whenever I want to watch DVDs. So then I got films that I wanted to watch, thankfully. So, yeah, so like he would rent his stuff or he would buy his films, and then I would buy my films. And then he noticed that, like, damn, man, you always buy fire, bro. Like, I would buy a film, you know, I'll buy Get Rich or Die Trying, and you're just gonna buy 300. And when you borrow me that film, man, no, 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 no. Next time he was like, yeah. So now next time when he was buying films, he'll call me, or he'll be like, I'm going with you. Whatever you're buying, I'm gonna buy whatever you're buying, because it looks like you always just buy some cool stuff. So that was like the DVD age, I might say, the DVD age. So because the VHS age at that time, it was gone. So I would say it's weird because I think it's from my mother's. I kind of find it from my mother's side. That's where I actually got the really good influence for really good films. Yeah. So like I guess for me, films have always been around. I would say like another interesting influence, and I would say like I would thank my mom for that, was my mom had she was in a nursing school, so she used to do night shifts. So when she finished her night shifts, she used to pass like a Mr. Video or something like that. I think it was a Mr. Video or something like that. If Mr. Video, when Mr. Video was still around. For those who don't know, Mr. Video is like our rental. Yes, yes, like our rentals shops that was renting movies. And then she was like, one day she came and she was like, oh my god, like I passed by this store and it sells movies, and I know that you like movies, like you must tell me what movies you want to see, and then I'll just rent one for you. When I leave night shift in the morning, I always pass there, they're open, and then she'll get something, and then she'll bring it to us, and then we'll watch it, and then she'll stay a day, and then the following day when she does her night shift, she's just gonna go in, bring it back, and then we just started getting movies like that. She's like, I don't have to worry about buying these films because they're cheap to rent, $30, 30 rand. So it was just cheaper for her. S It was the time. So my mom got us the Matrix trilogy, just the whole Matrix trilogy like that. Like she's like, I'll get the first one. She's like, I know that you've seen that one on TV, but I'm gonna get you the second one because I saw the second one, and then I'm gonna get you the third one. I was like, yes. So it was a good time. It was a good time. I saw the whole Matrix trilogy through that system. It was really, like, I would say, like a very also like cool time. So yeah, so films, always loved them, always been a fan. And then now I get into to working in video games, and then now and now you can kind of see the influence even in my concept art work, right? Like there's just always just has been this element of making everything quote unquote cinematic, right? Like I think even with this webcam as well. I think it's just more or less just like yeah, just I've always just loved the format. It just always spoke to me, and when I eventually got into games, when I started playing games, and then there were cinematics in games, that just also just opened a little part of me. I At that point in time, I had no idea even what to call that. Like, who does that? What's their job? Like, is it the game designers who do these things, or then of course the more you learn, you realize that no, it's a whole separate department. There's somebody at a studio whose job specifically is to just make cinematics, which is really cool. And then I really got interested in it. Played Uncharted, very cinematic game. I played The Last of Us, very cinematic game. I fell in love with the characters because of how great the cinematics were directed in that game. And I was like, okay, cool. Like, if I would ever work on a game, I would definitely would want to eventually be a cinematic artist. But at that time, I had no idea what it was, effectively was. And then yeah, then Relooted happened, and at that time I had experience, but we as a team we didn't have experience with working with cinematics, so we all had to just kind of go and do a little bit of research. I took a course in making cinematics, just for the purpose of making cinematics for the game, and then I started, working on Unreal Engine, making them for the game, and I just fell in love with the whole thing. I like literally like I say this a lot, but the days when we were making cinematics from storyboards to key art to layout to sequencer and lighting and polishing, those days for me did not feel like work. Those are for me some of the best days um, with working with Relooted. It was just like being there with my camera and just being Scorsese, focus pulls, looking at the right aspect ratio. It was just great, and just being in that, it exposed me to a whole lot of worlds of like cameras, and I got my first DLSR, and then I got crazy, and then I was exposed to different lenses, and then it's just the whole thing just became like a crazy rabbit hole. Discovered Roger Dinkins, who we all know is a very famous cinematographer. I think if you watch No Country for Old Men and other cool films that he's worked on, and of course I think you and I be like sort of watching standard films, and then it just kind of just rolled down. You're like, oh my god, it's like visual storytelling happening here, and it's just all just like it's a perspective, right? Um, and then I think then that's how I ended up, finding myself in a space where I am now. I feel like I am now more or less of a cinematic artist than a concept artist, but you know the concept art is still there, but I think I'm now like pretty much more like of a cinematic artist because yeah, I really did love the medium, and um, yeah, it's just something that I feel like it's just been very consistent in terms of like the thing that was there. Like films have always been there. I think even in college, for animation, you had to do like the first year of video, which is partly film, part documentary making, and all that. So that stuff has already been there. How to work with the camera, how to use editing softwares and all of that stuff. Like so, I think it's something that's already has been there, but it was just not quite awakened yet. And I think Relooted like then awakened the whole thing, and it's over now. Now I'm just fully that.
So just looking at like your entire history from the film to the video games, and then you get to college, you study what you study, and then
Yeah,
you realize everything, like everything you've done plays into each other, right? From the
yeah,
animation to the documentary or filmmaking, and then your first job says, hey, we're gonna teach you how to clean mocap, but you're also a concept artist. So now you're at a point where it's like I can build world, I can concept world, and then I can tell the stories of my world through the film medium and what I love.
Yes.
Yeah. So it leads me to my next question then. Since Relooted is over and it's out on all platforms, like
Hey,
what's
it's still PlayStation.
next?
Yeah, still in
Yeah.
PlayStation.
Oh yeah. It's still missing on PlayStation.
It's-
But like
yeah,
what's next for Bongane Mahlangu past Relooted?
that is a good question. That is a good question, and a bit of it is probably behind. Well, from this side, it's probably behind me a little bit. You can see a little bit. There's some stuff there. There's some work. So there are several projects that I've been conceptualizing on the side, while I was working on Relooted, and I know one of them. I've already done some stuff and I put it in social media, and that's Savannah Rush. A lot of people already know about it. I've done some small prototypes there and there. Um, like I feel like Savannah Rush is that thing. It's always, I think it's always gonna haunt me, and I know that like it's something that eventually I'll have to like make a big decision about it, if I want it to become something that's more like a short film, or do I want it to become something that is like more of a video game, um, or maybe a bit of both. Who knows? So I think now pretty much like I know that like definitely if I'm going to become, let's just say, cinematic artist, right? Like I will definitely work on these stories, and if I would make them into film, they will definitely be probably stuff that's done in real time, because now that I've worked in games and I've worked with these tools, real time tools, I've now seen how amazing and effective they are, and how also there is a very big boom in real time. So I think those are the mediums that I'll pretty much be looking at. And also I think probably going forward definitely will be building my cinematic artist path in it, in a way. Yeah, I don't know if I'm saying it right, but I guess like yeah. So I'll be more on that. I am not a good writer, but I am writing. I'm not a good writer, but I am writing. So that is a bit like on Savannah Rush. Like at Savannah Rush, I'm still figuring it out. I'll be working on that, and then there's another project that I've been scripting a little bit. This one I know for sure that I want it to become a video game, but because I'm me, it'll be cinematic. It'll be a cinematic game. If probably you might be wondering like in what way. And like we've all played the Order 1886, and I wish that game did well, so that we could have gotten the sequel. All shout out to all the Order 1886 fans out there, but like we need we need the sequel, so you make a plan. But like yeah, that game for me, as a person who's doing art and who's into video games, and then it's so cinematic, my mind was blown. I was like, oh my gosh, this game is so cinema. Like the whole presentation was just great. So I would definitely that project. I don't want to say too much about it, but I definitely would want it to become a bit more something that is like along the lines of that, and probably maybe delivered just like Stranger is this Stranger Things? No, not Stranger Things. Life is Strange. Life is Strange format. Yes, Life is Strange format, like episodically, because I think I love that. Yeah, episodically. Like I would want it to release episodically, weekly probably, and then I think that could be really cool. So yeah, I have a couple of personal projects that I'm already like opening up again, and some of them I've been writing for a little while. So yeah, I would say that is. Unless if you want to know more, I'm sorry. I don't know if if I've answered you right or not. That was a bit of rambling.
It's all good. Like we don't have to take a deeper dive if it's still, on the hush hush on the down low.
No, no, it's some of them are still in the hush hush, but I think Savannah Rush is the only one that is out there. Like I think I really did a lot of work for it, like the lore, the history of the world. I've done the world map, I've got the characters, but I think with it, I know what it actually needs more or less. Like, it needs good writing. I would have to get somebody to kind of help me plot it out, um, because I am not particularly a writer, but you conceptualize things, right, and then eventually you work with somebody to make them better, and then visually that's where I will take it to the next place. In fact, visually I think the whole thing is already out there, right? The character, we done the first character and all that stuff. So yeah, technically, yeah, technically work a lot of work has already been done for Savannah Rush. And also I'll just also add that there is a tech, like right now, like there is a technical showcase that I'm working on for Savannah Rush, of which it's not really like something that is more or less like a game, or no, or it's just more or less like showcasing the technology, like with the new Unreal Engine like features that are out there, but like within the context of the project. So it won't be something that relates to it, but it's something that is um, kind of utilizing all the latest Unreal Engine features. So just a very very short film that is not really like, even like, I wouldn't say necessary film, but just some animation work there and there, and yeah, just showcasing the bit of the the character in the context of it being an engine.
That's cool. And I have like just one more question on Savannah Rush before we wrap up. Um,
Oh no.
yeah, it's just one question. Yeah, I remember you gave a talk on Savannah Rush. Were you giving a talk on Savannah Rush or just world building at Playtopia?
So it was world building, and I used Savannah Rush as a context because that time we were still working on Relooted, and I could have made a talk about world building because on Relooted, right? Relooted was not announced. It was such a secret project at that time, right? So I could not um I could not talk about it. But Savannah Rush was the thing that I was already building at that point in time, and I was like, you know what, this is something that I'm already building, and it is world building, and I'm pretty much gonna talk about it. So I talked a little bit about the story at that time, talked about how crazy it is, but also how you can pretty much like um, yeah, just like write your characters, build the world, have some context to everything, the inspiration behind the project, and how it started. So you might, yeah. So just like the technical showcase, it's just more or less like just talking about world building as a big concept. But Relooted was used. Because I couldn't speak about Relooted, Savannah Rush was the default like project that I was at least able to talk about. I could just like bring it out there to everyone. I was surprised because I thought that it would have been something that I talk about, and then you know it's like, oh cool, great fantasy, great fantasizing about breaking about this weird project of yours, and I thought it was gonna die, but people are still asking me about Savannah Rashid, like, so what are you gonna do about it? What's going on? Like, are you gonna continue? I'm like, oh my god, like, okay, like, so there is a bit of care about it. Yeah, yeah, I really really thought that people will just look at it and be like, okay, cool, and then like now we're like, so where is it? Relooted is done. Where is it? Like, please. So I think the technical showcase is the response to that. I think once I'm done with the technical showcase, I'll just put a pitch deck and then just like put it there. Just be like, whoever has money to make it into a to work with me and make it into something that's big. Okay, come through. Let's talk. Um, I think that's cool. And maybe one day when I'm an old person, and 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 I've got the experience and maybe the monies, then I can pull it up. But if somebody's got the money now, okay, cool, let's do it. I'm yeah, I'm like while I'm still young. Come on. Uh,
It's been a really, really great chat, and we'd love to have you on. And that's the thing, once you and I start talking, we'll never finish. So, for the
yeah, no,
sake of like the length of the interview and making it digestible, we can call it here. I think it's
awesome.
almost been, yeah, nearly 2 hours. But yeah, where can
All right.
people find you?
I'm on that station, and also Instagram as well. So I'm all of your socials. I'm sure probably you will put them somewhere. You're gonna use your editing magic to put them somewhere. But on X I am Ronin Art, and then on Instagram I am Mahlangu dot art. So you can find me there, and then on Blue Sky, I'm also matlangu.art, and then I am in those places. Hopefully, those handles will pop up somewhere there, or maybe in the description. But yeah, like you can find me there, and then you can I know me about Savannah Rush, and then I don't know. Or if you got the monies, let's talk. Yeah, if you get the monies, if you get the monies, yeah, yeah, yeah. If you want to spend your money on a thing, yeah, that's fine.